there, it's Mike Madge. I'm back with SailJuice.com, continuing our DN series of looking at ways to get you better on your DN, going faster around the course. And today we're lucky enough to have James T Thieler with us here. James is the 2020 North American champion. He arguably travels further than anybody in the world to go ice boating, but that's another story. Welcome to the show, James, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
Yeah, so today we're going to be discussing tacking. James is on the show. We're going to be looking at a video of him. He's going to be giving us some tips on tacking, and he's going to break down the tack into 4 different phases of the tack. Probably, I think you'd agree, James, that like anything, like boat handling is the foundation of any sailing skill.
It's certainly one of them. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be fast in a straight line and all that, but I think they say in auto racing that races are won and lost in the corners, and that's certainly true of sailing as well. You know, you got to have good tacks, good jives, and you know, certainly the mark roundings are important as well. But you know, tacking is one maneuver that you know you're going to do several times in a race, so you better be good at it. You know.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're racing or even a recreational sailor. I mean, like you say, you're going to have to tack. And I think you'd agree that the nice part with tacking, it doesn't require any special skill, or you don't have to have the world's greatest equipment. You can go out, you can practice it on your own, and you can become very efficient at it.
I always say, you know, a lot of things in sailing, it's just as easy to do it right as it is to do it wrong. So you may as well do it right. You know, it's just a little bit of thought, a little bit of effort, a little bit of practice. You can rip off a really nice tack or a really nice maneuver of any type. So you may as well, you know, do it correctly and gain a few places here and there. Absolutely.
And probably being consistent too is another thing with tacking. I mean, you're not always have to be the world's greatest tacker, but as long as you can pull off consistent tacks.
Yeah, and they're all going to be different according to conditions, wind strength, what the ice is like. But yeah, as with a lot of things in life, just having some kind of system, you know, as a baseline is really good. You know, doing things by rote so you don't have to think about it too much is really important.
All right, so James put together for us here his a little flow chart for tacking. And he's broken it down into the 4 different phases. So the pre-tack. So we'll start with the pre-tack. So the pre-tack is everything that happens just before the tack. So maybe you can start us off here, James, with what you think are the important points that you've listed over here on the side.
Sure. Over there on the left, pre-tack. Well, the first thing you want to know that you have you're going to be tacking for a reason. You know, so you're buzzing along upwind, boat speed's really good, and you know, you don't just want to tack for no reason. So if you are going to tack, it should be because you're either, you know, you want to head towards a better side of the course, or maybe you're sailing a header, or maybe you want to cover somebody, or you know, maybe you're in bad air. So first of all, just, you know, make sure you have a reason for tacking. You know, because in ice boating especially, I think Matt talked about this in one of the other videos. Speed is king, you know, and no matter how well you tack, you're going to lose some speed. So you don't just want to, you know, tack because you're bored, you know, so make sure you have a good reason. And also very important in any kind of boat, but especially in the DN, make sure you have a clear lane. It's always not just a good idea, but a necessity to take a look at where you're going to be headed, where you're going to be going as you go through the tack and as you come out of it. In a regular normal dinghy, usually you look over your shoulder and you can see where you're going. In an ice boat, you actually want to look to your windward, but also tilt your head all the way back and take a look directly behind you. Make sure there's no one coming up, you know, directly behind you into windward, because you can foul somebody there too. So take a good look around. Make sure you have a nice clear lane. You can use your plank as a reference for your tacking angle. Generally speaking, if you're all the way back in the cockpit with your shoulders against the backrest, if you look straight down the plank, you can get a good general idea of where you're going to be headed when you come out. And also, if you want to, as you get better with that, you can finesse that and use the plank to line up with the weather mark. You can see exactly how your plank lines up with your field of view. And if you're trying to lay the windward mark, let's say, you can get a feel for if the plank's lining up at the front of the runner, the middle of the plank, or the back of the runner. That's going to change depending on wind strength and ice conditions. The other thing in the pre-tack, you want to make sure you're going fast. As we said, in ice boating, speed is king. Forward motion begets forward motion. So you want to make sure you're sailing at good pressure, you're going full speed. Another thing you want to do is find a clear spot. If there's sailing a lake that has some snow here and there on it, some snow drifts, you want to, lift your head up a little bit, take a look around and look for a clear area where there's hopefully no snow or maybe a little bit less than in other places. And you want to of course, make sure you start out close hauled. Hopefully if you're going upwind and in the groove, you're going to be sailing your normal upwind close hauled course. So that's pretty much the Pretack ritual.
Perfect. So now when we talk about the entry here, so this is all the initial start of the tack. You've made up your mind. You want to tack oar. You made sure you got a clear lane. You've got a reference angle off your flank. So let's just go through the entry here. Some of the key points that you put down.
Sure. Yeah. You've evaluated, you've made the decision. You've discussed it with your tactician at length. And it's time to get into the actual tack. So depending on how fast you're going on clean ice, it's like any maneuver, you want to do it smoothly. So you want to enter into the tack with a nice, slow, smooth turn. You don't need to throw the tiller over right off the bat and send the boat into a hairpin turn like the America's Cup boats do. Those are a little different. I know a lot of us are probably watching them, but you can head up fairly slowly. Sometimes you have to ease the sheet an inch or two just to keep the aft runners from breaking loose. And also around this time, you're going to be wanting to slide your body. I slide myself as far forward as I can get. So I end up with my rear end right up against the foot braces up towards the front of the cockpit. My knees bent. I'm tall and skinny. I have a lot of long limbs. And when I tack, I look like Ichabod Crane. There's limbs sticking out of the boat all over the place. But with knees very bent, feet still against the forward bulkhead, and your whole back down on the body, the floor of the cockpit. Sorry. And the reason for this is two things. Number one, it gets you ready to get your helmet under the boom, but it also gets some people would argue this, I think, but I think you want to get as much weight off the rear runners as you can. Those two back runners, as you're heading into the turn, obviously the one on the inside is carving a much tighter turn than the one on the outside. And so they're going to fight with each other. It's like almost like snow plowing when you're skiing. There's a lot of friction there, even in a gentle turn. And I think the less weight that's on those runners, the less you're going to slow down. So I try really hard to pull my weight all the way as far forward in the cockpit as I can get. I think that's a pretty common mistake too. A lot of times you see people tacking, just being lazy and sitting all the way back in the boat, and you can hear them from 200 yards away. Just that grinding noise of the back runners, and that's just the sound of speed going out the window. So as you head into the turn nice and slowly, slide your body forward, ease the sheet an inch or two, just enough to keep the back end from breaking loose until you're just about head to wind.
All right, so now we're into the middle part of the tack. So the middle part of the tack would be defined basically everything. Basically, you're pretty much head to wind here. So everything happens a little bit quicker once you get into this dead zone, I imagine.
Yeah, here's where the fun begins, where things start to happen a little more quickly. But as the boat is heading out now, you're going to be getting head to wind, and here you're going to speed the turn up a little bit. You've already done you've stolen a little bit of VMG by heading into the tack slowly as you come up, and as you're losing a bit of speed, but you're also pointing directly upwind, so it's sort of a wash for that early part of the tack. But as you get to head to wind and the sail is now pointed straight into the wind, that's a lot of drag, so you're going to start lowering or losing your speed a bit. So here you want to accelerate your rate of turn, and here you want to get the throttle back on and get the boat off the wind and locked and loaded and moving again. So your rate of turn is going to accelerate a bit, especially if you're sailing in bad ice. If you're sailing in sticky ice or there's a lot of snow, you want to head off, get the sail full, and get the throttle back on as quick as you can. So as you head into as the sail comes head to wind, your rear end is far forward enough as you can get. The sheet is going to be used just enough so you can get your head under the boom. This is important. Ron Cherry talks about this a lot. He says you want your helmet down onto the cockpit floor And I generally look towards the new, as it goes overhead. I don't let it bounce across the top of my head. I let it bounce across my side because I know my helmet's narrower side to side than it is fore and aft. So I actually turn my head towards the old leeward side, I think. I don't know. It all happens fast. I can't think right now.
We'll have the video. We'll check it over in a minute.
Yeah. We'll have to go to the instant replay.
Yeah.
But yeah, turn your head sideways, let the boom go over, and that does two things. First of all, it's less sheet you have to let out, and also when your head pops up, you're looking straight at where you're going, and you're sort of giving one final check to make sure there's no traffic. And you can't stress that enough. The less you ease the sail, the better, because it's less you have to pull in later. But also, if you're talking about aerodynamic drag, which is our big enemy in ice boats, at least when you're going fast, a sail that's luffing, a sail that's flapping, is a ton of drag. That's like a speed brake. And so if you can keep that sail nice and tight, as tight as you can, and maybe it's only going to flog once. Or hopefully even less, if it just can pop through nice and evenly, that's way less of a speed loss than if you have it ease too much and it really starts to flog quite a bit. That's really bad. It's also not good for your sail. So
okay, so now we're into the exit part. So the exit is you've tacked over onto the new tack. A few things happening here. I guess you've lost some boat speed going through the tack, so you got to accommodate the sheet trim for that also.
Sure, yeah. As you come through the tack, the boom's going to flop over, and you're going to have to wait for that, especially if it's breezy too. You're going to want to wait for that moment where the rig flops over and pivots onto the new tack, and that's where you're going to give the sheet a tug, and make the mast pop out onto the new tack. And sometimes you have to ease the sheet a bit to do that. It gets a little weird in the middle here. But you release 10 or 12 inches of sheet if you have to again, to get the mast to rotate and pull it down, get your body under the boom. And here's where being forward in the boat comes in handy, because now you have your feet are against the forward bulkhead, and I usually have my arm out straight holding onto the sheet, and I'll be gripping the sheet. At this point, it'll be right up by the block on top of the tiller. And so as you bear away and the sail fills, you're going to need some ready moment, especially if you're all the way forward, to keep the weight off the runners. Well, now you're done turning. You've increased your turn, you're close hauled, maybe a couple of degrees lower than close haul to get your speed back, and just push back with your legs as hard as you can. And the sheet will come with you, just like you're pulling like in a rowing machine. And that'll get the sheet back on, using the muscles in your legs instead of your arms, which is good. And it gets your body weight aft, and probably a little bit to windward if it's windy, to get the mast to pop back out, get that righting moment going, and get the boat right back up to speed again.
And finally, we're the final bear away, where you've set your course. So now a few things happening just to make sure you're back on the right course.
Yeah, you're going to just push the bow down a bit. Hopefully you have a good feel for where a close hauled is. You've got some good landmarks. You've done a few hot laps before the race, and you have a good feeling of, where the happy place is for the boat. And you just bear away to your normal sort of close hauled course, maybe another 2 or 3 degrees, just to get her ripping again. The sheet's going to come the rest of the way on now with your arm. Make sure you're close hauled and on course. Get one final check to make sure there's no traffic anywhere. That's going to be an issue. And then once you're back up to speed, then you start thinking, once you got the mast popped and the boat settled down again, that's when you start making yourself aerodynamic again. If you hiked out the back or to windward at all, once the mast is popped, just like when you come off the starting line, you want to get yourself, tucked in, toes pointed, elbows in, and try to disappear as best you can into the cockpit.
Okay, that was excellent. So now the fun part, we get you to take a look at your tack here and see how well you did for all this stuff. So we've got a little video here of you tacking. We'll
see if we practice what we preach, right?
Yeah, let's just, so you can maybe give us an intro. This is a race, well, it says from the 2015 New England, and we're on board with you with a great shot. So this is your first upwind leg. You're going upwind, and you're getting ready to tack here. So let's play this a bit, and we'll stop it in a few places, and we'll go through our checklist. So we'll stop it as you're just getting ready for your pre-entry here.
Sounds good. Yeah, this was on Lake Champlain a couple of years ago, 6 years ago. It was a beautiful day, as you can see. A lot of sun. The ice was good, but there was definitely it was definitely kind of soft. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go through. But there was still plenty of breeze. We were still sailing fast. It was just a terrific day. That's guy loves doing the Lord, by the way.
Let's go through our checklist. There's check number 1. I see you checking over your shoulder. I guess you're checking your plank, checking your exit angle, checking for a clear lane.
All the above, yeah. Making sure there's nobody up on the hip. We've been going upwind for a little while at this point, so I was looking for a couple of things. First, just making sure there was nobody to windward that was going to get in any kind of trouble with, especially since I'm tacking from starboard onto port. Yeah. In that video you did with Carol Jablonski going around the course, I was impressed with how much time he spends looking through the window, especially on port tack. And that just underscores the fact that, you know, you need to keep your head out of the boat, you know, A, to have a good race, and B, you know, to be safe out there. Can't stress that enough. But I was looking over my shoulder to the right to make sure there's no traffic. And also looking for the mark. I knew it was up there somewhere, but just trying to find that, and also trying to judge the ley line. So yeah, so here, I guess I saw what I was looking for. So looking ahead a little bit, looking to lower just to make sure there's nobody down there, just because. And here we are heading into the tack, just beginning to head into the tack.
Yeah, so here's our entry. So we should be looking, right. Maybe you'll talk us through this point here. So I see the knee coming up.
Yeah, the tiller's gone to leeward a little bit, a little tiny bit. You see my knee's going up, and that's indicative of you know, sliding the whole body forward into the footrest, far forward as you can get. And as we head into the turn, you'll see knees in the air. And here we go, up a little more. Probably didn't slide as forward on this one as I should have, actually, if I could critique myself a bit. But here we go into the tack.
So one thing we're noticing here is, again, you know, if we're going through our checklist, that it's a pretty slow, smooth turn going into that entry. Like if we're looking at your tiller there, it hasn't left the outside of the cockpit on the leeward side.
Yeah, it's a pretty graceful turn in the beginning. You know, it's sort of like tacking a keel boat in smooth water. You know, you head into the tack very easily and gently. And about halfway through the tack is where an iceboat tack and a keel boat tack gets pretty different. So here we're just heading up nice and easy, and sliding forward in the boat, taking one last look over to the right, make sure there's no traffic. And we're going to go up a little more here.
I guess the added benefit of that slow turn is that you're actually making ground upwind with that turn. So it's a good BMG type turn.
Yeah, you're never going to you know, not lose an attack, but you can certainly minimize the damage. You know, sailing's like that a lot. A lot of situations in sailing where you can't gain anything, but you can minimize the losses. And yeah, nice easy turn. You know, the runners aren't going to fight each other as much. There's going to be less noise, less friction back there. And yeah, you can sort of steal a little bit of a, you know, boat length or so to windward with really good VMG without losing too much speed.
So here we are.
Whoops, sorry.
Looks like you're right in the middle of the turn here, right? Basically head to wind. So I noticed the sheet's still in fairly tight.
Yeah, sheet's still fairly snug. There was plenty of grip that day on that. That ice was just a little bit soft, so you didn't have to worry about the rear runners breaking loose and making a lot of noise. So you didn't have to ease the sheet very much to keep the boat under control. So yeah, sheet's still in. You can see how flat the sail is. You know, we don't want it flogging. That's really bad. Or flogging as little as possible. So the sheet's in as tight as I can get it. You can see I'm turning my head to starboard, and for two reasons. Number one, that one last look to the right, make sure there's no traffic, and also makes it easier for the boom to get over if your head is turned sideways. Right down on the cockpit floor. Here we go. Right, here we see, oh, that's a good shot. So yeah, the boom's popped over. You can see my knees are very bent there. And if you look real close, it's hard to see with the black, but I'm probably about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet. Probably my shoulders are over the plank in that picture at that moment. So that's pretty far forward. My knees are very bent. And and the mast is just about to pop through. And you can see now the sheet, I've actually eased a little bit just so the mast will pop through. And that's kind of a necessary evil. But if you're borne off a little bit, it's not just going to flog you. If you wait till you're through the tack a tiny bit to give it that little bit of ease to make the mast pop, it's not gonna flap and slow you down.
So there's our exit of the tack. He's coming out of it, looking good so far.
And there the mast turns straight. And at that perfect moment, you just got to practice that. You give the sheet a little tug, and that locks everything in on the new tack. Make sure it's not inverted. And again, this ice was kind of sticky, so you're losing a little bit of speed through the tack. So you'll see I'll put the bow down a little extra. And another mistake you can make too is if you've lost quite a bit of speed through the tack is to sheet in too quickly. You know, it's a mistake people make off the starting line as well. Kill any kind of boat really, but your adrenaline gets the better of you, and you sheet in too quick, and the sail gets too flat to generate a lot of that low end power. So you don't want to don't just want to yank it right in. You want to just click it in nice and easy.
Yeah, Matt Struble uses the term quite often, let the boat come to you, you know.
Yeah.
Be a little patient.
Yeah, it's tough when you're describing this stuff because it's hard to put some of this stuff into words, you know what I mean? A lot of it has to do with feel and the way the boat's reacting, and it's really hard to verbalize a lot of it.
Well, I guess it's like most things with boating, like it's time in the boat, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, just developing that feel for it, that second nature, that second sight, if you will. I don't know how to describe it. And here we are bearing off a wee bit more, and you'll see the mast starting to bend a little bit more, and the sheet's going to come in that last little bit, and off we go. Yep, there's the sheet on. You see that windward runner, I think, lifting up just a tiny bit. It's a beautiful thing. And the mast pops out, and we're getting back up to top speed again.